Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in as we continue the Bigfoot talk tonight with our good friend Carter Buschardt. And, we still haven't had that poker game, him and I. But we're going to get to it soon, hopefully within the next year, as we say hello to Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver, T-Bone with a bronze medal tonight. Paramarv, how you doing, brother? Nice to have you here. And Mel WD40 here is lubing us up for tonight's show because Carter literally says, Dave, I'm not coming on to talk Bigfoot unless Mel lubes me up. So Mel is in Carter's studio right now, lubing him up as we speak. Moving on down, we got Robert Lamoth. We got Michael Morris, the attorney at large. Kitty Caddywhack, thank you for kicking off this super chat tonight. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. Thunderhead, how are you? Frankie B and Shane Gord, nice to have you here. Shane Gord will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Be gentle. It's his first time signing autographs. So just take your time with him. He might not know how to properly sign. Kathy Evans, how are you tonight as we continue on with our roll call? Roswell, nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Yes, what's the difference between the Leafs and the Titanic? The Titanic only sank once. I love it. Good job. 67. Oh, I love it. Digger Dog and Necessary Dialogue, good to have you here. Flubber Lane and Jennifer Beveridge, nice to see you both here. Scrolling on down, we got Forrest Louie. How are you doing, buddy? And Jay Trueseeker, how are you? Good to have you here. Chasmataz, what's going on? Eternity Eternal and East Coast Turnaround on X. Nice to have you both here tonight. Scrolling on down, we have I'm Hardcore over on X. Undead Jed, Carol Amario, and Erica Stover. Thank you all for coming on in tonight. Scrolling on down, up next we have TCR is here. TCR will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Yeah, I don't know what the hell is happening with my hair tonight. Oh, my God. It's like straight up. Carter's jealous, though. Yeah, I think this is TCR's first time signing autographs, too. So be gentle there as well. We got a couple of rookies signing tonight. Scrolling on down. Up next, we have, let's see here. We're still scrolling, people. Algaray over on Twitch. So excited about tonight's show with Carter that he did 65 Bigfoot footprint pull-ups in 3.5 minutes. Psycho formerly Argo. Psycho formerly Argo, welcome to SOR chat. Found out about our show from Walter Sterling. I love it. Yes, number one, Walter M. Sterling. Sterling every damn night. One of my good friends. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you coming on in. I hope you find a home here. Jerence Carter, how are you? And let's see here. John's house. How you doing, John? Nice to have you here. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have Carter Buschardt on to talk about Sasquatch. Why not? Why the hell not? Why? Because we can. That's what it is. We can. Why is my camera blurry all of a sudden? Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go. There we go. It's still blurry. Maybe it's just me. All right. Let's see. We're in roll call right now. Aussie Boss Tiger, how you doing? Nice to see you. And the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. And we're going to have a good time tonight. I love the topic of Bigfoot. I know you do as well. So let's have some fun. Let's throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods. We're together. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. Come on up to Caribou Con in the beautiful Caribou of British Columbia, September 18th through 20th. A great conference indeed. Go to cariboucon.com and get your tickets today. We're going to get into the forests around North America. Carter Buschardt, experiencer, author, researcher, and a guy with a good mustache, is here tonight to talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and every other cryptid creature around. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us with another creepy story. We're going to follow that up with Robin Haynes with a cryptid Q&A. So be prepared. It's going to be a fast, exciting show of monsters. So let's get right to it. Carter Buschardt is a seasoned cryptid researcher. He's afraid of me at the poker table. That's why he's never played me. He's an author, an experiencer whose work bridges the gap between Sasquatch research and high-strangeness phenomena. Best known for his book, Baptized by Abduction, Carter details a life-altering encounter that began when he was just 8 to 9 years old in 1959. God, I thought it was like 1939. I'm teasing. I love Carter. I really do love Carter. He's an amazing friend. When he and his friends were reportedly taken aboard a spacecraft while riding their bikes in Dallas, Texas, these experiences, which he claims continued into childhood and adulthood, possibly as recently as 2021, have been explored through 7 hypnotic regression sessions, offering a deep personal look into the world of alien abduction and consciousness. With over 15 years of dedicated Sasquatch research, Carter has led multiple expeditions for the BFRO across Missouri and Illinois, and he has contributed more than 100 reports to the databases while covering key Midwest regions, including Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Let's bring him on in because this guy is just a treat. He really is. You're going to love him. Carter Buschardt, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How are you?
I'm just stunning, Dave. I can't believe your hair. I just want to mess it up.
You know what? The best part about me being in British Columbia and you in Missouri, you know what that is?
You don't have to play me in poker.
You don't have to mess my hair.
Oh, yeah, well, that too.
You know what? I'm going to put this out there for the whole world to hear. When you and I, not if, when you and I finally get it to the poker table. Okay. If you beat me, and I'm going to tell everybody, Carter has played in the World Series of Poker twice. He plays poker literally a few days every week. Okay. I don't, but I'm confident in my game. Okay. If you beat me in poker, I will let you cut my hair.
I'd rather host your show for a night.
We could do that.
I
I would let you do that.
You want to watch the ratings plummet?
Sure.
Have me on there.
Sure. We can do that.
Yeah.
When we finally meet. We will do that. My friend, it's been so long since you've been on this show, way too long. And I love it when you are on this show. You are somebody who became interested in Sasquatch almost 20 years ago. And now you are getting kind of into the alien abduction phenomena after you started having some recourse on some memories that you had. I mean, or recall, pardon me.
Yeah.
You know, did you ever think that, you know, you were a professional guy, you lived a good, solid life? Did you ever think that in retirement you'd be dealing with monsters and legends?
No. I have no idea. That's just totally left field as far as I was concerned. I had no plans on this. It just turned out, and you know, the abduction we found out by accident. So I had no idea until 20 years ago that I'd been abducted. I had no idea.
What brought you to this phenomena with Bigfoot? Let's start with Bigfoot here.
Leonard Nimoy, In Search Of. That's the first time. I think I was 13, 14. I saw the Patty film. And that was like, when I saw that, I just went, "Oh, that's real." Next. I just knew it was real. I didn't think it was like a fairy tale or anything. That's what got me into it, you know, and how, you know, and a few years later, my wife and I decided to go to Washington State just to get away. You know, we rented a cabin in the middle of nowhere, and I wanted to go see if I see a Sasquatch, Bigfoot. Why not? Everybody else does it. Well, we didn't see one, but I went on. We were just hiking in the woods, and I found a ammo box chained to a tree, and I was going, "Well, I got to take a leak," and I'm seeing this thing, and I don't want to touch it because I thought maybe, you know, marijuana had become legal in Washington State back then, and so you could get high in Washington. But we were told when you're hiking, you got to watch out because the guys that are growing the pot illegally are protecting their stash with they're armed. So you don't want to go hiking out in the woods. So when I saw this stash, this box, this ammo box chained to a tree, I was going, "Oh crap, I just found somebody's stash." And I was waiting for guns to go off behind me, but nothing happened. So I opened it. I was just curious. And inside, you familiar with geocache?
Yes, I'm a geocacher.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what this was. It was, I'd never heard of it. And so I went through there and I realized you got to take something out of the box and then you put something in of yours and you sign the name that you were there. And I picked up a card, and it was a business card for a Sasquatch investigator. I'm going, this is supposed to happen because I've been wanting to do this. I didn't know how. And so I called this guy, and long story short, he puts me in touch with the guys in Missouri, where I'm from, where I live now. Went on an expedition, and a year and a half later, I was leading expeditions for him. The guy that was doing it got fired, and they hired me. And that's how I got into it. and it's been a it's been a blast. It's been eye-opening and incredible. And the research I do is not sexy or exciting like these guys that are kidnapped and strapped to a tree and almost eaten and all that. I don't. My stuff is all habituation. All people, families living with Sasquatch on their properties and interacting with them every day, every week, every month, every year, whatever they want. Both parties have agreed in silence to maintain a relationship of sorts while they're living on a property that humans live on. And that's how I got into the research part of it. That was just fascinating. You can go out and chop some firewood, and there's a Sasquatch watching you chop your firewood. There's Brutus. Hey, there's Timmy. Howdy. It was just a bizarre thing. How I got into that, I don't really recall, but it just gravitated to that. So all my books and everything are all about habituation mostly, where people are living with them. And I get calls once or twice a month or an email. Hey, guess what happened? And it's a new story. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's been a joy. It's an incredible thing. So that's how I kind of got into it.
As much as you love looking for Sasquatch, hearing the stories, the encounters that people have,
Mhm.
would you want it proven real?
Well, yeah, to me they are real. I mean,
Well,
I
I understand that, but I'm saying, would you want mainstream public, like, look what's happened to the UFO field.
yeah.
Would you want that in the Sasquatch world?
Well, I'm torn because there's nut jobs with AR-15s that are just ready to go into a forest. If somebody says they saw a Sasquatch or got them living on their property and mow them down because there's a big price tag if you were to kill a Squatch and bring it in. I don't know how popular you'd be. You'd be hated by many people. But that's actually a pretty good question. If they could be protected somehow, not that they need it, but from the gun-toting nut jobs that probably do, or we would lose touch with them altogether. They go into places we would just never be allowed to go. The government would shut them off. So, yeah, that's a good question. It's kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
I don't think I wanted that to happen. I
Yeah.
don't want to see, you know, places where you've researched, I've researched, or other people have their own places researched, get overrun by a bunch of people who are a little bit overzealous, shall we say, in a very polite term, in
Yeah.
order to do it. I mean, that's what happened in the ghost hunting field, in the paranormal field, when television became very popular with it, is
Mhm.
all of a sudden everybody and their dog became a ghost hunter. Okay. And then following that, they started, going for clicks. It took a number of years, but all of a sudden it became an internet sensation. You look at it today, there are locations now that do not allow paranormal investigators in because they've ruined the location in so many different ways, whether it's their lack of professionalism, whether it's, wrecking museums, uh, you know,
Mhm.
painting over walls,
Yeah.
doing whatever, claiming demons are everywhere in every location, scaring off potential customers and patrons because of demons, all for clickbait. I mean, the paranormal got ugly. We see the UFO world getting ugly
Yeah.
because of the popularity of the UFO subject and the UAP thing going on. I don't want that for Bigfoot and the cryptids. I like going out in the mountains in my areas and not having anybody around.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. In the national forest, my main area of research here in Missouri is Mark Twain National Forest. It's a huge, forest. It's massive, and there are places you can go and places you should not go. And the places you should not go are the ones where the Sasquatch reside, when they live in the wild, truly in the wild. So yeah, I would miss that if it was suddenly curtailed somehow. I love it when my phone rings and someone's got a sighting, their first sighting, and they're so excited and they're so overjoyed because they thought it was fake or made up, or that's something my Uncle Bob used to talk about, and I thought he was nuts, but he's not nuts. So that would ruin that, and I get great joy in talking to people who've had their very first, and they just want to know everything there is to know. And I don't know everything, but I tell them the basics, yes, they are real and they can communicate, and they are smarter than we are, on different levels, the esoteric and the paranormal, the quantum skills they have, and things of that nature. So I would miss that terribly if that got curtailed any way, shape, or form. That would, because it's a view into the science of it all and the existence of a being that we probably felt superior to, and we are not superior to them, other than we have guns. We call that superior.
They are very superior in the forest. They are I think they are the apex of all apex predators out there.
Yeah.
And the idea that someone out there is faking this, okay, that they're faking footprints. I mean, there are places I've found footprints where you don't see people walking around there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see people hanging out saying, hey, I'm going to drive 25 miles into the forest, make a left turn on a goat trail, okay, and drive that for 3.5, 4 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And then, walk up a steep hill to all of a sudden leave a couple of Bigfoot tracks and then drive away. It's not really what it goes on.
No. The footprints, if they do leave them, they're very, very adept and smart enough to erase them or hide them. They don't leave prints. They walk in creeks. They walk on all fours. They don't walk in bare dirt unless they just have to. I've had reports where they're seen in broad daylight, and then they uproot a tree, a sapling, and drag it behind them as they are walking away very quickly from the humans that found them, and they are erasing their tracks as they're walking away. How smart is that? I mean, that's very intelligent. Of course, I wish I could uproot a tree myself, but they can uproot a tree and drag it behind them and erase their prints. I've had several people tell me they've watched it, and it's incredible. They think that it's
when
survival.
you and I first met, you were very flesh and blood about the Sasquatch, extremely flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
You've now kind of changed your tune on that, where you're more of a not sure what it is kind of researcher. Why did you change your tune?
Well, the very first expedition I led, I watched one vanish in front of my eyes. I was watching it on thermal. I had a little thermal scope, not the big camera, but just a scope. And it didn't know we were there. We were looking for a party that got separated on my first expedition. A party left of about 7 or 8, and they got separated. They got lost. They missed their turn. We were going to stay in camp, and they were going to make about a 1.5, 2 mile circle at night and come back and join us and tell us what they saw, and we'd continue our squatching. Well, they got lost. We had bad radio because we were down in a holler. So I had everybody being quiet, and I was watching through the forest at night. I'm the only one that had a thermal at the time, and I was watching for their heat signature because radio was terrible. We could not hear each other because we were down in the holler, and they were high. We just couldn't communicate. So I finally found a heat signature. I think I found him. I think I found him. Well, it wasn't them. It was a Sasquatch that didn't know we were there because we were sitting there in silence. And I walked around, realized there because I gasped when I saw him. And it took one step, the second step, boom, it gone. It was like a flash bulb went off in front of my face. I couldn't see. It was, blinding. It's like literally like a flash bulb went off right in front of your face. And in that very moment, I took the road less traveled. I said, these guys are not dumb apes like the guys that brought me into this. And I'm grateful that they brought me into the group and all of that, but they were very, very hostile about anything paranormal. They're not paranormal. They don't have any skills. They're flesh and blood. If you think anything other than that, you're just a dummy. Just forget it. That's just stupid. And they were hostile and mean when they were sharing their beliefs. It was just like, if anybody believes that, you're just, effing stupid. You're just an idiot. That's ridiculous. Well, how things have changed, but anyway, so I took that fork in the road. I went the other way, and it opened everything up because, if it's a dumb ape, that only explains about 3% of all the things that people are reporting, tree peeking, crossing the road late at night, that kind of stuff. Other than that, the portals, the orbs, the disappearing, vanishing, and mind speak, I've had that. It tells you that you're fighting something you can't possibly understand if you just believe it's a dumb ape. You just can't fathom it because you're blocking all the other stuff out. So that's where I got going, and that's where I became the paranormal guy and they are. I've experienced all of it in some way, shape, or form, and it's just the craziest thing. Fascinating, but it's crazy, very crazy.
Do you regret looking towards the woo side more?
No, it's been awesome. And the attitude of people has changed in 10 years. I'd say instead of it being 80% dumb ape, it's more like 30% dumb ape and 70%. Well, there's something to that paranormal. That's just, I can't explain what I just saw. And by logic, you have to open your mind and think of other things that, are reserved for, ETs and ghosts and the paranormal. No, I don't regret it at all. I took a bunch of flack. You have too, probably, if you start talking about that and you get into a group of closed-minded people. You have to kind of fend them off a little bit, with a big stick every now and then.
You love stories. You love people's encounters. What is it? We got about 45 seconds to go before we go to break. What is it about people's encounters that really pique your interest?
It's the emotion. It's the seeing them excited, and you're not going to believe this when I tell you this, blah, blah, blah. And they go off. And that's what got me started on this, because I was doing reports for BFRO and people would not, I could tell they were like hedging their bet. They were talking, but they weren't telling me everything. Anytime they talked about paranormal, they'd say, well, my Uncle Bob or my grandpa, he saw one, disappear one night. Well, I know that's a bunch of crap. That can't happen. Well, tell me more about that. And it turned out it was them seeing it. And they were just BSing me because they didn't want me to laugh and scoff at them like everybody else.
It's amazing how many people in those moments have an Uncle Bob. They all have an Uncle Bob when they need to tell a story about cryptids or UFOs. Carter Buschardt is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. You can find all of his Bigfoot books on Amazon. Check him on out. We'll be right back with the second half hour. All right, we're clear, buddy. All right. The real Dave Rice. What's happening? Little Davy Rice right there. All right. Good start there, Cart.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you something interesting. I got an email today from the United States government regarding my Sasquatch books.
We'll save that for the next half hour. Let's get
Oh,
into it.
I am. I'm just telling you, it was just the weirdest thing.
Oh, I'm excited to hear this actually.
Yeah, it's pertinent in some ways. It's sort of insulting in others, but yeah, it got my. I've never seen a letter like that before.
Did they ask if you made love to Sasquatch or what?
Close.
Nice. Nice.
I said, "Did you have to buy him dinner?" I said, "No, I killed a deer for it. It
Right.
did what I wanted. I killed a deer."
Yeah, we my one area that we got here, we had it going there, man. Holy cow. We had them probably within the tree knocks were probably 40 yards or less away.
Mm-hmm.
The one snuck up at my audience. I tell this story a lot. My audience will just roll their eyes. We actually had one, the one point where we weren't filming, one snuck up into the trees, maybe 30 yards away, and started ripping ass. And we found the droppings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. But it's like out of the entire time to not be filming, that's when it starts ripping ass.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they don't like cameras, so they're waiting for their moment.
The only two times we got scared a couple of times, the tree knocks were very intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Being that close. Like I've heard them in the distance.
Yeah.
But man, when they hit up close, man, that's violent.
It's like a firecracker. Gunfire.
Yeah. It was violence.
Yeah.
And but it got to the point where we were playing hide and go seek with them.
Mm-hmm.
It was ridiculous. And then all of a sudden you get this little telepathic message. Okay, boys, fun's over. It's time to go back to your vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
This is our area now. And okay. But the one time, I don't know if you've ever had this or heard of this. We walked into this meadow. Okay, we're in the middle of the forest, Carter. We walked into this meadow and it was like there was no air in there. And right before we went in, Robin Haynes, who will be on in hour 3, he says, when you're in the meadow, don't go too far. And when you go down the secondary path, she says, I see a path right by it. When you go to that path, okay, there's going to be like a fallen tree or something along those lines. And she goes, don't go past there because there's that's their area.
It's their territory.
And we hit both areas and we couldn't breathe in both areas. It was like there was no air there.
Yeah.
You ever heard of that?
No, I haven't. I mean, but that they can control the environment.
Dude, it was
skeleton.
trippy. It was trippy. Right? And when we were in the meadow, my buddy Tim, I looked at him and I just finished looking down at the moss and I'm like, man, I'd love to sit down on that moss and put my head down. That looks so comfortable. And I told Tim, my research partner, this, and he turns to me and he goes, oh my God. Like he goes, I was just thinking how I would love to have my lawn chair here to take a nap. We walk out 25 feet, air's perfect.
Yeah.
Go down the path, get to the end where Robin says, don't go any further. No freaking air there anymore.
Could have been a portal.
Could have been.
Could have been an area that is disguising a portal.
Maybe.
You know.
One second. We got our lone super chat tonight. It's Kitty Cattywack. Thank you for the love and support. Here we go with the second half hour.
I like your new studio.
Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Glad to have you with us as we are with author and researcher Carter Buschardt talking Sasquatch. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Carter Buschardt hanging on out with us. We're talking about whether or not Sasquatch is flesh and blood. Is it something a little bit different? Is it something more? Is it something less? Is it something that we don't know? Carter, welcome back. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
Every time, man. Every time.
Yeah. It's always a blast, Dave. You're like a brother I never had.
I love you, my friend.
I got two brothers, but I don't like them. So,
and I got two sisters the same way.
Yeah.
So, big question for you.
Yes.
Before we get into some stories, because I know you've got some stories you want to share.
Sure.
What do you think of the controversy about the Patterson-Gimlin film?
Money grab. I think it's a sad and pathetic attempt to discredit and make a money grab if there is any money to be had by what you're going to try to tell the world that this is all a farce and made up. You know, good point, but what about the other 300,000 people who have had experiences and seen them? Are they all making it up? Are they all hallucinating? Or if this was a hoax, which I doubt, then what about everybody else who's had experiences? You're not hallucinating because you watched the Patterson-Gimlin film. This existence goes on beyond that film of what, 15, 20 seconds, however long it is, 30 seconds. I watched the whole thing the other day. Maybe it's a minute. But so, no, it's really sad because if you're trying to discredit the existence of Sasquatch, you're going to fall flat on your face. If you're going to try to discredit that particular film as being faked or hoaxed, maybe you succeed, maybe you don't. But that is still just a money grab and trying to discredit somebody who's done the work and paid the dues, and you're just trying to ruffle feathers and get some fame and cash on your way out the door. I just think it's it's poorly timed, it's poorly planned, and you know it doesn't erase the things I've seen and experienced, the things you've seen and experienced. You know, how do you explain that, what you experienced and everybody else? Well, I must have just caught that Sasquatch fever from the Patterson-Gimlin film because that's what it was. That's what made me see things. It's baloney. So, you know, I think it's really sad and pathetic, but I'm actually kind of glad because it's going to let you know who the players are and where they're at. You know, they'll expose themselves. It'll be sad. It'll be sad.
I'm convinced that the Patterson-Gimlin film is real.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can convince me otherwise unless they have them saying on tape, you know, while they're filming that. Okay, that they're doing this as a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, if it's fake, you might have some film footage of the guy in the monkey suit with the head off, smoking a cigarette and having a beer before he goes back to work. That's something you might have on camera. There's too many things to do that you could show that you did fake this, and none of that's coming up. We still haven't seen anything. You're telling us after the fact. Well, show us how you did it. I rather doubt that's going to be the result of all of this hoopla. I just don't think it is. It's sad. It's a sad day, but I'm glad it's happening now, and we'll get it out of the way and keep moving.
Now, none of us really have seen this documentary.
No.
None of us have seen what it's all about. We don't even know. We're going off second and third hand information. You know what has been reported, and the odd few who have seen it who are coming out saying, "Oh my God, this proves there's no Bigfoot at all." You know, the typical social media exaggeration for clicks.
Sure.
You know, but you made a good point. Those of us who have had experiences and seen this, we don't need the Patterson-Gimlin film. The Patterson-Gimlin film is just kind of like a video dictionary of what we saw for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, why do you think the critics have become so harsh on this?
Yeah. How do you mean harsh? I mean, are they tearing it? They're tearing it to pieces, or are they going to tear the belief in Sasquatch to pieces? Which
Well, I think both, my friend.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's people that are going to have poop all over their shoes when it's over, and there's people that are going to be shining like stars. Did you watch that Gimlin hypnosis?
I have not had an opportunity to do that yet.
It's pretty interesting. I've been hypnotized 8 times. So he's out. I mean, he is out. So, and that's not fake, and he told his story, and he mentions things that haven't been mentioned before that they saw. And so, but that was a real session. I didn't catch the guy's name who explained the process of getting Gimlin to recount things based on perhaps having some trauma over the thing, and when I went under my 7th time, take it back, 8th time, I'd been under so many times that she could bypass a lot of you're getting tired, you're getting sleepy, let's go to the cloud, let's get on the cloud and go to the next cloud. And you waste a lot of time and energy when you're doing that stair stepping. But since I had been under, and many other people, and like this guy that did Gimlin's, he got to the gist of the matter real quick. He didn't do a lot of that. You're getting sleepy. He just talked to him, and then boom, he was out, and it got into that space much quicker. And so there's more clarity, there's more remembrance, because you're not wearing yourself out emotionally by trying to go to the next cloud and get to the next cloud. Which is typical. We're going to go to the cloud. We're going to look for the flowers. They're trying to relax you and get you to, relate to your surroundings and the whole thing. But that does waste a lot of time. So this guy did a good job. I can't remember his name. He did it when you watch it. There's a YouTube video of it. You can go on YouTube and watch it. He explains for about 20 minutes what he's doing and how he's doing it. It's very cerebral, It's not your old, you're getting very sleepy, watch the ball. It's not that at all. It's the next level of regression. Did a good job with it, And that he was in good hands when that guy was chosen. I don't know who chose him, but it was good. You'll see it. You'll be impressed. You'll be impressed.
All right, let's move on to some story time, because every time you're on, you bring some incredible stories about encounters with Sasquatch.
Mhm.
What stories have popped up since the last time we've had you on? What ones really stick out for you?
Well, the one that sticks out uh, is my habituation family down South Missouri, and they have a grow operation. They grow fruits and vegetables for farmers markets down in southeast, southwest Missouri, and they have all sorts of activity on their property. They'll see them while they're mowing the yard. They don't wave, but they acknowledge, and they'll stick out from behind a tree and watch you working, you know. And this one shows you why I do what I do as far as the habituation, because these people are living and experiencing these creatures on an entirely different level than, you know, Matilda and Henry driving down the street at 2 in the morning, and a Sasquatch walks across a lonesome highway in the middle of a forest, and you see it, no wow, and that's all great and wonderful. You saw one, that's an experience, but it goes far beyond that. People are being themselves, and on occasion, a Sasquatch will be a part of the day's activities, or for the Sasquatch, the humans will be a part of their day's activities. So, this one story I have, and, I think I sent a picture of the face on the wall, but they use these Quonset huts, you know, the old army kind of barrack things where there's just steel rings in a semicircle, and they stretch plastic over it, and that becomes their grow house. So they just grow fruits and vegetables, and people come and buy them, and they ship them off to farmers markets, and people make their money, and farmers that don't have time or the ability to grow in large quantities. So that's what they do. And so, but they've had food stolen from them, and they finally realized it was probably the Sasquatch. So my kid, he's probably 25, 26, 7, somewhere in there. He kind of runs the whole operation. And so he got kind of irritated because fruits and vegetables were being stolen out of their huts and or eaten, and just the scraps left on the floor. So they got an idea. He put up some motion lights. So one night, 11 o'clock, I don't remember exactly the time, it was late. Motion light goes off. Now, from his house to the first grow hut is about 30 yards. So the light goes off, and this little beeping thing's going off. So it's going off. And so he's heading out there with his phone, with his light, using it for a flashlight. And he hears a bunch of screaming. It's Sasquatch screams off to the right as he's running toward the hut. And as he gets a little closer, he hears more screams off to the left. And, you know, and it's Sasquatch screaming and screaming and howling. And we find out later they're warning the Sasquatch, the young one who's in the hut. When he gets to the door and opens it, he hears screaming from inside, and it's the juvenile Sasquatch that was taking the food, and it runs right by my guy. It brushes up against him. I believe every word it says. They're very devout Christians. They're very wholesome, wonderful people. They don't lie or BS. You know, they wouldn't make any of this up, because they're as fascinated by it as I am. They're just like shocked that they've been chosen. So he runs by him, and he could have kissed him. It literally just touched him, you know, and he was screaming bloody murder as he was running out. And so, and that was his family warning him that he was coming to the hut. It was hilarious. But in that hut, they run the propane tanks in the winter to keep the plants warm, and there's condensation all over the inside of the huts. And I sent a picture. I don't know if you got it, but it's a face print of a Sasquatch pressing its face up to the plastic. It's looking to see if the humans are coming. And I've got a photo of 4 or 5 heads, like an entire family of like little juveniles, all different sizes. They're not as clear as the one I emailed to you, but it's so clear. You can see the hair follicles. You can see the eye, the eye sockets where it's blank, the beard, the nose, the lips, everything. You can see it's so clear. You might as well be standing there looking at this. Do you have that picture?
Let me see if I can grab it here.
It's really good.
Just remember, our audience on the radio can't see it.
Yeah. Well, can they see it if I pull it up?
No, because they're on the radio.
Oh, I got you. Okay. But anyway, this is what they go through on a daily, weekly basis. They are watched, and they've made a deal with them now where you can have X amount of food out of here. And other than that, you leave us alone, because this is how we make our money. This is how we feed our family and other families. So this is our operation. So you can come and take some of it, because some of it's going to go bad anyway. So you can take some. And they understood that reasoning. And since that evening, they've had no other issues with food disappearing. That's to me, it's the understanding. You're making truce with what looks like a 9-foot gorilla that wouldn't know a word of English if you said it. But we both know that they're vastly superior to us in intelligence and the abilities they have, the psychic and the quantum things. So they understand the logic, and they want to get along with the family. They want to stay there and be able to steal food, take food. And oh yeah, that's there.
So basically what we're looking at is like a steamed hot window with what looks to be the face of a monkey or something like that.
Yeah.
You can see the lips, you can see the nose pressed against the glass, the chin you can see. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's, and I've got other photos like that. And there's that handprint on the lower right. That is when they're up against the plastic, they're doing this. So they're being able to look and hold the plastic away. And so that's the handprint. And that's the kid. He went and put his hand on that print. So that face print and that handprint are on the inside of the hut. And he's on the outside putting his hand up for comparison. So that's on the inside. It's just, and this is like a day in the life for this particular family. It's just, for me, it's just fascinating, and it shows an understanding and a willingness to get along with somebody that you don't know very well. You can't communicate verbally. It shows an understanding and a willingness to get along with somebody that you don't like or don't understand, or is they look weird, they look different from you, And so, you just think about the racism and all the problem we have with race and hatred of people we don't know or understand. And this is a great example of, and my other families are the same way. They interact with them, and there's just a truce. If you're going to steal stuff, if you're going to come peep in my windows, if you're going to, kill my dogs, don't do that. There's just a truce that they have. A lot of my families just have this understanding, and it's unspoken. Everybody just knows. It's just like, Rodney King. Can't we just get along? It's it's such a simple concept, but it transcends human and animal. It's like an understanding that we all have feelings and needs and habits and social structures we have to honor and put up with. And that's how they live their lives.
Let me ask you this. I find that the Sasquatch encounters that I have had, thankfully, I've never come across an aggressive one. Okay. But I do find that their curiosity is like a house cat. They can't help themselves. They may be a little bit timid, maybe a little paranoid, but when somebody enters their area, it is like Christmas morning for them.
Yeah. Well, they get to see us humans up close without having to sneak onto our property. We're in their neighborhood now, we stick trail cameras on trees. Well, they avoid those. They can suck the power out of the batteries just by walking by. And so those batteries are dead and that camera's not going to be working. So you can put all the cameras up you want. If I want to, I'll just drain your batteries. I won't even touch the camera. I won't destroy it. It's your property. You paid good money for it. So, so they have a way of getting along. You're not going to take pictures of me. Now, there's some people that have photos. They say, I can't show them to you because I promised I wouldn't, that kind of thing. So I haven't seen those photos, maybe a couple, but overall, I was allowed to take a picture, and it's mostly of a silhouette or it's one of them peeking from behind a tree, but it's a pretty good shot. But they after a period of time, a good period, they may relax their defense mechanism enough to where you get a photo that's not real blurry. It's still blurry, and the public's not going to accept it, but you've got a memento that you get to keep. It's just, one family, they've been shown the newborn. This same family has the Sasquatch showing the children. They will pose them in front of a trail camera. At dawn, they did this. I've got one of the photos. It's pretty fascinating. The adult Sasquatch was backlit by the rising sun, and it was coming up through the trees. There's kind of a clearing between the trees, and the sun was coming right up, and the Sasquatch was standing right between these trees, probably about 25, 30 yards away. And you could make out the silhouette. It was unmistakable. But what it did was, and we think, and we don't know, but I think that it was showing one of their children that they had shown them as a baby, because what the adult Sasquatch was, probably the male, was standing back up to the sun coming up, and in front of it, and you can just see a silhouette and a shadow. You can see about a 4.5, 5 foot tall Sasquatch, obviously a juvenile. You can just make it out. I was to post it online. People are going, that's a crappy photo. What are you putting that on there for? But they're sharing the family photos with my witnesses by, this is Johnny. This is the one that we showed you 3 years ago, and now he's a strapping young boy. He's 4 or 5 foot tall. No words spoken, but it's just an act of, here's Johnny. Here's our child. Thank you for letting us live here. Or more or less, you should be thanking us for letting you live here, because we lived here before you came here. Sasquatch has been on that property long before the humans came along. Long time.
Carter, give me a little bit here, because we are going to go to break at the top of the hour. Author, researcher, Carter Buschardt is here. We have him for another hour on Spaced Out Radio. I love it when Carter's on. The details of his stories are incredible. More Bigfoot Close Encounters coming up after this.
is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right, buddy, we are clear. I'm going to put you back in the green room. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, okay?
Groovy.
All right. Be right back, everybody. Get your tickets now. Like, go get them. Like, right now. There we go. Let's bring Carter back in. We got about a minute 30, my friend.
All right.
All right. Are we missing anybody?
That letter I got from the Copyright Office
Yeah.
was regarding AI.
Oh, wow.
They do.
Howdy, Hunting Bear. How are you? Excuse me. All right, we got about a minute to go here. All right. Thank you to Kitty Cattywack for our super chat. Reminder to all of you that tickets at cariboucon.com for a Caribou Con September 18th through 20th, right up here in the beautiful area of British Columbia I live in, 108 Mile Ranch. Make sure you come check it on out. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me. How you doing, buddy? Nice to have you here. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Spacedoutradio.com. Here we go. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We really appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Habitude. Habitude is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get to our good friend, Carter Buschardt. He is a researcher and author when it comes to cryptids like Bigfoot, aliens, you name it, he's into it, and we're glad to have him here. Now, Carter, recently you received a letter from the U.S. government.
Yeah, it was bizarre. It was today, actually, it was just an email. It's from the Copyright Office, because, I've copywritten all my books, but they were wanting me to verify that I wrote all my books, that there was no AI in the writing of the book. They wanted to know whose pictures were in there. Did I take all the pictures that are in my book? Well, I agree about the AI. I don't like AI for the most part for writing. I never use it, period, for writing, even a letter or an email or a post. It's just ridiculous. But they were wanting, and they want me to prove within 45 days. And I don't know why this came up. It was my most recent book, but they are anti-AI because a lot of authors apparently are using AI to write their books. So I have to prove. And so some of my books have stories in them that were in a previous book that I've upgraded or updated because I got new information on an event. But it was just an odd thing. But I'm kind of glad they're doing it. But now they're doing it to me, I'm insulted because I write all my own stuff and the photos. The artwork was done by, and she does computer graphics. It's not AI. But they want me to explain how the photos were made or the artwork. It's I've never ever had that.
That is so weird.
Yeah. I have to forward you the letter. It's really, and almost when I first read it, I had to go, is somebody trying to sabotage me or something? What's the deal? Why are all of a sudden you doing this? But I understand that all the backlash of other people could, how many times you get online every day and it says, "Do you want me to write an email for you?" Push Copilot or push whatever, and it'll write your letter for you or do posting for you, that kind of stuff. I never use any of that stuff, but that's what they were doing. I'll forward it to you here when the show's over, and you can just read it. It's just like, that's weird. It was odd, but they do not like people claiming to write books using artificial intelligence. They want the book to be written, and they have ways of defining if you have not written the book yourself. They
That
mentioned
is
that.
so weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Are
I
they
took
doing it to everybody, or are they doing it just to people who talk about weird, strange subjects like Bigfoot?
that I don't know. I got to contact a couple of author friends and see if they're getting the same letters. I mean, the artwork on this book, my latest, is computer graphics. I mean, she's drawn the thing and then used computer enhancements to make things look more real. There probably is some AI in there, but it's artwork. I'm not claiming it to be mine or anything other than what it is. It's just a photo. And all materials are copyright by me unless otherwise noted. Drawing artwork by Ravenhawk, drawing artwork by Sibylla Irwin. So I've got I've got it all in there. So why they're, but I think it has to be they're not just singling me out, but authors in general. Because it's getting too easy. You could just sit down and write an entire paper and just push a button and let Copilot write it for you. And you put your name on it, you wrote it. And I would agree with that, policing that. If you're not even writing the book yourself, you're just pushing a button and let somebody write you a 250, 300 page book. And I'm sure there's probably guys doing that. I don't know of any, but why would they do that otherwise? And I've written 6 books, so it's not like, they just not like, we better look into this guy. It was just a random thing. I think they're doing it to other people. I know I can guarantee I could probably call a couple of guys and they go, "Yeah, I got one of those too." It's weird. If you use a lot of AI in your work, I caution you to maybe not use so much if you're a published author or posting things that are allegedly from you or by you, but are not. I don't know what they're doing. It's just it was a weird thing. Weird. When you get this email, you'll go, "What?"
I can't wait to read it. I can't.
It's weird. It's just weird. Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's weird.
But you know what? Like I look at it 2 ways. Like I could see where, say, somebody who struggles to be a writer and they want to use AI to make themselves sound at least more proficient and professional,
Yeah.
okay, in using it. I don't have a problem with that. But we also have to remember that, even though AI is there to clean up the words and make things sound a little bit more tailored, it does take out the emotion that you were putting in there.
Yeah.
It takes out the human love of what you want to type into a
Yeah.
computer.
Yeah. See, I love telling my stories. I love when people call me up or email me with a story, and it's heartfelt and it's real, and I don't need any help whatsoever in translating that to something that the public can read. It's real easy. I would never, I could not imagine writing a book using AI. I just can't imagine. It takes, the whole purpose of writing a book is pouring yourself out, or informing the public about things. Yeah, it just defies logic. I guess people are doing it Otherwise, they wouldn't be hunting and pecking, looking for bad guys. I'm not one of
I
them.
agree.
It's weird.
Let's get to another one of your great stories that you have. You've done a number of investigations. Have you ever had an investigation where Sasquatch was stalking someone, maybe came close to attacking them?
No. Well, I'll take that. I'll take that back. This family that grows all that produce, they live very close to a silver mine operation down in South Missouri, and there are caves in there that have bones, all kinds of deer and baby hogs bones stacked up rather neatly as though it's a shape of some type. It's a structure. And one of my guys found this place from a rumor he heard. There's a hog farmer that says all his baby hogs are disappearing. A lot of them are disappearing. And somebody stumbled onto this mine, this silver mine, and found all these bones stacked. They were hog, cattle, and deer bones, but a lot of the baby hog bones. Well, he went in there and something was at the back of the cave, huffed. Wasn't a growl, but it was like a wasn't a bear. He said it was really loud and it did vibrate. It bounced off his chest. But that's the only he hauled ass out of there, but that's the only I've got nobody on any of my properties that have been attacked or been stalked by Sasquatch. I hear about them, but none of I don't have any firsthand knowledge of that. That'd be terrifying. Good God.
What is the scariest Sasquatch story you've heard?
Well, I had somebody who had a dog ripped to shreds, and it was not a big bad rot or Doberman or anything like that. It was just like a little mutt dog, probably knee high, and it was very, very curious. And it would bark and yell and chase after the Sasquatch, wanting to play. I mean, it was just very playful. It wasn't like growling, snarling, trying to kill it. But it ran into the woods after the Sasquatch because it heard them, smelled them, and they heard their dog being killed. That ripped to shreds. The whole horrible sound of the whole dog being killed, and they never found the body, and they never saw the dog again. So they don't like dogs. They will make friends and pets of dogs, but they have to keep their distance and all that. So that's about the most brutal thing I've heard, and I just don't hear much because I have some dogman encounters that I'm just now starting to get from two of my families, and they're both almost the same type of story. My grow operation people, the kid was out there one afternoon, 3 o'clock, pruning some of the vegetables, getting rid of some of the dead stuff, and he was in the hut, and he's just standing there, and a dog man, broad daylight, 3:30. He called me right after this, freaking out. Just walked up to the hut, and it took its claw, and it was poking at the plastic and doing this with its head, tilting its head. Like, what is this? It's like it was curious, and he'd never seen it or touched it. He was poking at it and just, scratching it and just going, that is weird. It was fascinated by my kid was standing there 10 feet away from it. He's in the hut, and this one's on the outside just playing with it. and it looks at him. They look right at each other, and he just goes back to what he was doing, which was playing with the plastic. And so as he was leaving, he took his fingernail and ran it down, made a cut, and then made another cut, an L cut. So he had a flap that he cut. And he just turned around and walked away. And I had another family go through the same thing. I mean, it was weird. And they're 150 miles away from each other. They don't know each other. But it was the same thing. It came to their back door and was playing with plastic. They had plastic on their screen. And it was ripping shreds. It was just cutting it with its claws. And she was watching it from the kitchen. I don't think the dog man did not see her. She was watching it because it was, it was dark. She was in the kitchen. She was backed up next to the fridge going, I don't know if I like this or not. But she called in and saying, I got photos of both of them. So that kind of stuff kind of spooked them because they're not on a friendly basis with these, but they did not attack or get violent or vicious or anything. They just walked away like, yeah, I'll see you later. I mean, you just don't make that stuff up. I mean, he called me right after it happened. The kid, he was going, you're not going to believe this. And he already had the pictures. He already sent them to my PM. And I had it was just like fascinating. He was like, now that got my attention. I was a little nervous, but again, the animals are peaceful toward the humans. And I don't know if the Sasquatch and them are friends on this particular piece of property. I don't know if they hunt together. A lot of people say they see them hunting together. A lot of people say they do not like one another. I'm ambivalent. I don't have an opinion from my folks one way or the other. They've seen them on the property. So I'm starting to, in Missouri is probably one of the last places that is starting to get routine dogman reports. I'm starting to hear them in the background a little bit. So they're here. They've probably been here a while. I've probably seen some, but I probably thought they were Sasquatch, seeing a silhouette at night backlit by the moon and walking back and forth in the woods and the forest, you can see him. So you never know really at that distance, 100 yards, 50 yards, if you're looking at a Sasquatch or a dog man or what, you don't know, that far away. Doesn't matter. But it's an upright hominid that is massive and considerably larger than you are. So
when you have encounters like that and you hear that, does it put, as an investigator, any fear into you thinking what could be out there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know everything. You, I, me, you and I, we don't know everything that's out there. I mean, if you go through the whole paranormal tree, pale whites, ETs, several of my families see UFOs right before or right after a Sasquatch encounter. Or they'll see Sasquatch right before or after a UFO encounter on their property. So I do think they are tied together somehow. The Sasquatch and the UFOs.
Why do you think they're tied together?
Well, because so many people report them, that they see them. My people that have a lot of Sasquatch on their property have seen half a dozen to a dozen UFOs over a 10 or 12 year period that I've known them. Some of them were 100 to 200 feet long. Some of them are small orbs or very small craft or like satellite type things like, round like boogospheres, if you know what the boogospheres are, those round cylindrical things that are about the size of a basketball. And so they see them and seeing them right before, right after. And when I was regressed, the ETs are aware of my research, and they're aware of the Sasquatch. So I think they're tied together. I get too many people seeing the UFOs before, during, or after a Sasquatch thing to just discount it. You know, are they flying here? Are they just coming from another dimension and don't need the use of UFOs, but the Greys perhaps do? That part, that's a ongoing growing of my experience in that field, because I'm just getting to taste the fruits of that. But I think they're tied. I think they're tied together.
Your
Uh,
experiences with the ETs, as we got about 3 minutes to go. Carter Buschardt is our guest tonight.
Yep.
Your experiences, how traumatizing was it for you to learn that you had been taken?
It was really the very first time I found out by accident. You know, we went to a regressionist, me and my wife and another couple, to see if we had past lives. We all believed we had past lives. So we all went under one by one. I went last. And that's when I discovered. So at that very moment, I was reliving the trauma that I felt as 7 or 8, 9-year-old Carter, screaming, get your hands off of me. What are you doing to me? What are you doing to my friend? Why are you hurting him? Well, he's bleeding. What do you do? That kind of stuff. So, but other than that, it's been a really gentle relationship. I'm not traumatized by it because I never knew it happened. I was always out. They always came and got me while I was asleep as a kid, and later on as an adult as well. But it's never been a violent thing because I'm at peace with it. Once I found out, it's a peaceful knowledge I have that I've been taken and used for breeding. That's scary. There's little Carters running around Saturn. you know, I'm joking, but they took me to Saturn on one trip. But so, I never had the trauma. I watched what was going on to my friend and myself. I had some trauma at the time it was going on, but I wasn't traumatized when it actually was happening because I was out. I was taken while I was asleep. They took me off my paper route. Different things as a kid.
I don't know if you saw on X or on any other social media today, but former Congressman Matt Gaetz was actually interviewed about aliens, and he was told about the hybrid program, that it is very real and that they are, taking people for hybridization. Now, obviously, he didn't say the 5 W's of what happened there, but I mean, I found it very interesting that he comes out and says this. I mean, that's taking the game to a whole new level.
Yeah. Well, they took me. The first time I was taken by accident because I was with my friend Craig. We were racing our bikes, and we were taken together by accident because I was so close to him. They could not take him aboard the craft and me without demolecularizing us and then reforming us when we got in the craft. So, but I was taken by accident, but they said they liked what they got when they got me. So they kept coming back for me because I was
Right.
used in the breeding hybridization. So we like
That's kind of them.
Isn't that weird? We
Very
liked what we saw, and so we kept coming back to take it. That was the words, pretty much word for word, from the ETs I was talking to when I was under.
Let's hold that thought because we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Another half hour left with Carter Buschardt. listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, we're clear. Yes, the launch is tomorrow. If the weather holds. I like how they say we're going back to the moon. You're not going back to the moon. You're circling the moon.
Going to the dark side.
Yeah, where they're not going to be able to film what's there.
Yeah.
Right?
Because aliens won't let them.
I don't know.
I watched an interesting special today about the two aliens, the two astronauts that saw them, and how it affected their family, their marriages. They started drinking. They all of the ones that experienced the aliens got divorced. They went off the deep end. They started drinking heavily, doing drugs because they couldn't cope with it.
That's apparently why Neil Armstrong backed away.
Yeah.
When he got back.
And Buzz Aldrin, the other one.
Yeah.
They were both seriously affected.
Yeah.
And they were playing a tape that I'd never heard. I watch all of that stuff. I'd never heard it, but they're on a back channel.
Yeah. Armstrong apparently had an encounter as well while flying the X-15.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The X-15 encounters are incredible. There is a transcribed report of one pilot. I forget his name. He's at 315,000 feet. And he's talking about this orb that is right beside him, keeping pace with him. And it's like, and they're asking him, well, is it flares? Is it natural dust burning up or whatever? He's like, no. And then the thing just took off.
Yeah.
I love those stories.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. And it just fascinates me. And, that's why I'm hoping that we actually get some knowledge from this, real knowledge, real photos, real something, and not just rumors. Tomorrow, stay tuned. We're going to reveal. They keep telling you it's coming, but it's never coming. So I hope there's something there that we can all sink our teeth into, so we know what's going on in our universe. I mean, I just hope there's something we can take away from it, instead of just a rumor or innuendo. It's a great time to be alive. I think it's awesome.
Oh yeah, my man. Oh yeah.
I'll be 75 this year. Is that weird?
You're going to be 75 this year?
Yeah.
God, I only thought you were in your 60s.
Yeah. No, I'm
God, I don't mean to make you sound old, but you're only 2 years younger than my dad.
I know. Go to your room. You're grounded.
Oh, crap.
Isn't that crazy? I don't feel it. I feel my legs a little bit, getting maybe arthritic or some kind of freezing up. But otherwise, I'm diabetic, but I've got that under control. And so.
You got a nice goatee too?
Yeah, got that,
Yeah.
My wife runs her fingers through it, and my cats and stuff. So, it stays groomed. But it's just, it's weird. 75. I should have been dead 30 years ago. A lot of us should have. Doing the stuff in the 60s and 70s. God, I should be dead. Me and Blow and Quaaludes. My God, there should be nothing left of me. Yet here I am.
We got 30 seconds.
All right. Only reason I didn't die because I took care of all my band's business and I had to keep my shit together.
right?
So
How that's feeling.
that was it.
All right, 10 seconds. We got one lone super chatter tonight. It is Kittens Caddywhack. Thank you, Kittens. We appreciate you. We're going to get some audience questions as well. Here we go. Here comes the second half of Spaced Out Radio. We're talking Bigfoot with Carter Buschardt. My name is Dave Scott. I'm a guy who chases Bigfoot, likes tinfoil, and believes it's a fashion piece that you should wear too. Reminder to all of you, check out our archives. They're always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Let's bring in Carter Buschardt. You can check his books out on Amazon. We're talking about E.T. Contact and Bigfoot all at the same time. Why not? Why not turn the woo up to about 10 on the volume meter, eh, Carter? That's just fantastic.
Let's do it.
When you found out that you had been taken, what did they show you? What did you say in your regression?
Well, one of the most fascinating things that I literally just found this out a year or so ago. I was taken to Machu Picchu many times for some reason, and they took me down underneath, and I walked down these stairs that were underneath, and there's a whole nother building or a whole nother area that's below Machu Picchu. It was only discovered, as I just found out, between 2010 and 2012. It was discovered that there were stairs and like a palace and rooms underneath Machu Picchu. Well, it was only discovered in 2010 to 2012. It was rumored, but I'd been down there a bunch of times as part of this introduction to some spirituality that the ETs were taking me down. And I had to put my hand on this big round, like a post. You know, like if you're walking up some stairs, you know, old wooden stairs, and you've got a big baluster or a big round ball at the end there, I would have to put my hand on that and get the vibration and let it soothe me and put me in a trance and calm me down so I would understand what I was seeing when I went there. So I just found that out a couple of years ago that I was under there before anybody had even discovered it. They were taking me down there. So there must be something underneath there. But the guy that actually discovered Machu Picchu never discovered anything he couldn't see. He never explored anything other than what he could see visibly. So, you know, the rocks, the palaces, and all that kind of stuff that's up above the Machu Picchu. So, but it was rumored that there was stuff down there, but nobody ever went until the late in the 2010, 2012, somewhere in there, some English guy went down and discovered that there's a whole other series of tunnels and passages underneath Machu Picchu. And I'd been down there as a kid, a child, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. So that one to me was like, that gave some credence to like the doubt in my head, like this is really happening. Is the Air Force or something putting me through this? So I think I'm abducted and I wasn't. I mean, you run through all of that because it's also new. But that was the thing that really floored me, and I'm still kind of reeling from it. You know, they took me to Saturn. I remember sitting in the rings of Saturn. I was watching the dust and the dirt and the chunks of, you know, rocks and meteors just floating around in the rings. They go around the planet. And I was just sitting there. I'm going, why am I here? Well, we want you to be in touch with the old souls of the universe. And I thought, when I heard this on my first regression, I thought they were going to leave me there, so I panicked. I said, no, I don't want to stay here. Take me home. I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be around the old people. That's what I said on my regression. I don't want to be around the old people. I want to live. I want to be around people I know and humans and stuff like that. So yeah, it still boggles me that it happened and that they were using me for breeding purposes. I do commend their choice.
Did they tell you how many hybrid children you have out there?
No, they didn't, and here's something. When I put the book out, I heard from many women, some researchers. If I mentioned a couple of names, you'd know them. Of course, I'm not saying anything because I said I wouldn't. But they had been taken, impregnated, had the baby taken from them at a certain age, usually about 4 months gestation period. Then they take them and put them in the vats that you see on the craft or wherever they take them. And then they grow into the human hybrids, So I had several women that had dreams of being taken out their window, floating up above the house, seeing their house in their street, and all of this stuff. And they have been regressed, a couple of them, and they indeed had children by in vitro. So they came and took them. They impregnated them. They took the fetus out at a certain age and then let it grow to child size or being born size, whatever. And then they were shown, some of them were shown the babies. And then that was it. They never saw them again. But that happens. It's happening. If I told you some of these people, you'd go, oh my God, you're kidding. But it happens to people you wouldn't even begin to suspect. It's just a crazy thing. It's so bizarre, And the kid I was taken with, I found him. I had to find him. But he claims to know nothing of it, nothing. He doesn't know me, doesn't remember any of our childhood memories. He remembers nothing. And the thing is with me, a lot of my screen memories are starting to fade. Whatever they're doing to make me forget, I'm starting to remember now. And that causes them concern because I'm starting to remember stuff. And they told me they're not going to fill me in on so many questions. If I get regressed again, they're going to kind of monitor the amount of information I'm given because I'm a public person and I'll tell the world, and the world's not ready to hear what I would be telling the world. This is what they told me when I regressed. So, like I'm doing right now. But everybody and their mother seems like they've been regressed. I mean, you hear it's common. Who hasn't been regressed? Who hasn't been abducted? I mean, it's more prevalent than you know. We just don't know. Government behind it? Can't say not. I bet there's some cooperation there somehow. Truman and Eisenhower worked the deal.
There's your next book, is that Eisenhower story.
Huh?
So there's your next book, that Eisenhower story.
Yeah, I mentioned it. What's his daughter's name? She lives here in Kansas. She's not far. Yeah, she's
his great granddaughter. Yeah.
Yeah, she's scoffed at by many, but she's spot on with a lot of stuff. Dad made a deal with the devil. Give us some technology. You can take our humans. Just don't kill them. Do what you want. So to speak, that's, the Cliff Notes version. Him and Truman kind of had a knowledge of what was going on, apparently, so to speak. Now, if I end up dead, well, you know who killed me.
Let's get to some audience questions here. Let's start off with Paul here. What does the DNA evidence tell us of these creatures?
Sasquatch?
Yes.
Nothing, because the government will not allow it. It comes back as contaminated deer, dog, bear, anything but human, or the sample gets lost. The DNA whether Melba Ketchum is on the ball or not, I'm still not sure about that. She's been discredited so badly that she may have hit the nail on the head somewhere, because they're sure fighting her on. They're telling her everything she's found. So we don't have any DNA evidence that the government will say we have no idea what that is. They poo-poo it, it gets lost, or it's a deer, it's a dog, it's a bear. So we have DNA evidence. There is none that we know of.
Let's go to Shane. Those people who lived on that farm, how did they negotiate with the Sasquatch?
It was just an unspoken thing. Like, they saw them one day, they're peeking behind trees, watching them work in the yard, and then they start making howls and knocks and structures, and they'll come up and make a structure in the yard. And so there was never any, it was just an unspoken understanding that, you're fascinating. You're fascinating. I want to be on the same prop. So they just stay there. Now, the Sasquatch have been there long before the people got there. They moved there. They've been there for hundreds or thousands of years. So they've been on that property long for any humans. So this family comes along, lives, one moves away, and another one comes. So they just, I'll say, put up with one another, but there's none of my habituation witnesses have any fear or hate toward the Sasquatch. There's been no violence, no threats, no grumpy stuff other than a dog getting killed one time because they just don't like dogs. But it's just an unspoken thing. Like, it's a calmness. I'm interested in you. You're fascinating, and this is really cool. And you just slowly get indoctrinated. So then they're watching you mow the yard. My guy that I was telling you about with the grow house, they were chopping firewood. He just called me here 2-3 weeks ago, chopping firewood in a place because they're out of firewood for the winter. So he's chopping all the firewood for the upcoming winter. And he goes to this area where he's got some downed trees, and underneath one of these trees is a hollowed out area. He finds 10 empty peanut butter jars with the lids on them and completely empty. These are all peanut butter jars they've gifted to the Sasquatch because they like peanut butter. And they've taken them and they've kept them as mementos. They found their stash of the jars they'd given them over the years. So you see, it's like a give and take thing. You're different, I'm different. Let's just see how this works out. That's kind of it, because it's just been a gentle transition into knowing that there's a weird creature, whether it's a human or a Sasquatch, living on the same property that the other party's living on. And you just go about your day and you experience certain things because you become part of the family, part of the living experience on their property. There's no real negotiation other than when I said, don't take my food. They just said, they understand our language. Quit taking our food, quit killing our animals, quit killing. I had one, a lady that had 3 peacocks killed. Don't do that. Those are my babies. Quit doing that. And it never happened again. So they understand emotion and temperament when we speak. And if they don't understand the language, which I know they do, but if they didn't, they would understand the meaning of what you're getting across just by your temperament. So that's how it's all been translated to me. It just happened one day. It became a regular routine.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's go to NT here. I have a question. Can Sasquatch attack folks via dreams?
That's a good question. Now, I will tell you this. This is quantum, but they come to me as I sleep at night in my dreams, I see them the same way every time. And this happened after 2019 in the Trail of Tears in Illinois when I led that expedition for BFRO. I made contact with a clan in a way I had never expected. But long story short, they let me and my wife know they knew where we lived because I'm 350 miles away in Illinois leading this expedition. And they left rocks on this log for me to find the next day. When I called my wife, because I was super excited, oh my God, you won't believe this. There's 6 rocks here. There were 6 people on my expedition. And it is what it is. They were letting me know they knew who we were. And we showed respect for the Trail of Tears. And so, but what happened was when I called my wife to tell her about 8 o'clock in the morning as I was heading back to Kansas City, she said, well, what time did that happen? I said, I don't know exactly, but I would say sometime after 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, because we left and went home and there was nobody out. Because when I was leading that expedition, it was during COVID. There was nobody anywhere. And she said, well, when I was getting ready for bed, a blue orb flew into our bedroom, flew around 3 times, did a couple of curly cues like it was showing off, flew into the bathroom and disappeared. That's the Sasquatch. And every time I tell this story, I get emotional, almost get teary-eyed. Because that's the Sasquatch letting me know they know who I am, where I live, my wife, and that we showed respect for the Native Americans that died at this area that I had picked for my expedition. And they were showing their gratitude and introducing themselves and letting me know that they appreciated what we did. I mean, that's just the feeling I got from everything that happened with the orb. And my wife's going, it was just flying around the room like showing off. It was like doing these little loop-de-loops, like, and how does that happen? That's not a coinky dink. you know, they left rocks letting me know that there were 6 people in the expedition. There weren't that many because it was COVID. Nobody wanted to go out. So I only had 4 people plus my partner, Harold. And so they did not attack me. They have every chance to attack me mentally or emotionally, put some horrifying thoughts in my head at night, which they could do quite easily, but they don't. Now, if you're a bad person, if you want to take a shot at one, I'd be willing to bet that, yeah, they can give you a bad night's sleep for sure, I would imagine. I don't know of any, but I cannot imagine that that's not a possibility if you're not a good person.
All right, let's get to another question. Let's go to Paul. How prolific are the stories with indigenous cultures?
You talk about the relationship with the Sasquatch and the Native Americans, or?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you've got them up there in BC. My guy that was, terrorized by Sasquatch for 20 years, he lives in BC. And so they were told, him and his father, before his father passed away, of the relationships with the Sasquatch, with the indigenous people in British Columbia, going very far, 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 far north, way up where, nobody goes. They've had relationships for centuries. And my guy heard them. My guy that was terrorized, his father sold metal buildings to the indigenous people in Canada when it became apparent that the way they were trying to preserve their foods and stuff and drying huts and stuff like that were just not working out. And they wanted something that was more weatherproof. And so he was selling metal buildings to indigenous tribes up along all over BC. And so they told them all about this. They told them all kinds of stories about seeing them and being with them and trading with them. And they told him that he's learning this as a kid, you know, and he just go, wow. And so when he started being involved with the Sasquatch, they had adopted him and they had chosen him to be enlightened, whether he liked it or not. And so, but anyway, I think that's a very good question. And the relationships with the indigenous cultures and the white man uh, go hand in hand up there in British Columbia and Canada, at least for sure, you know, here in North America too. But, you know, I've heard more from him because he lived up there, still does.
I find that to answer this question, we only got about 3.5 minutes. I think there is more to it than we can connect with because we don't understand the culture properly. We don't understand the legends, the stories that go along with the stories of trading with these creatures for hundreds of years. You know, it's a very, very interesting connection that both sides have. And if we took the time to actually study it a little bit more, I think we'd be a lot more ahead in our knowledge than what we have now. Let's go to Zachariah here. Where do you usually see the Bigfoot at? At what time of day do they come out at?
I've seen the ones that I've seen at all hours. I mean, at night mostly because I go at night, and they do seem to hunt at night, and they're more active at night. So that's when I've seen mine. I have not had a daylight eye to eye sighting, but I don't need to. I've had other sightings, but I see them in the forest. And what time of day? Uh, Dusk or dawn is when you will see them because they're still hunting at those times. And that'd be the best time. During the day, you're lucky to see them because they don't come out much at night because during the day, because we're out hunting and we're out walking in the woods. So they try not to be out during the day. They're in the wee hours of the night, in the morning.
Yeah, most of my sightings have happened at dusk
Yeah.
as well.
Mhm.
Let's go to Donna. Have you ever just had a metaphysical sighting or other experience of Sasquatch?
Yeah, yeah. As I was saying, they come to me when I'm sleeping or meditating, and what they do, and it's the same every time, and it's like I'm in a hole and I'm looking up, and there's grass, down around the hole, all around it. I'm in a hole that I am guessing is 10 feet deep, and they're looking over the edge at me. And a couple of times they have shown me a day in the life, like the kids playing, they're poking sticks, looking for mice or grubs or other food, or they're just laying around like a picnic or like any family. They're just laying around. A couple of Sasquatch laying on a log, laying on the ground. The kids are playing, they're running around. I'm shown that, and they can communicate with me, and it's a calming type thing. And I've seen this probably about a half a dozen times since 2019, and I actually just saw it 2 nights ago. But that is, to me, it's a metaphysical. They are showing me they know where I'm at, and why I'm in a hole and they're looking down. I just think that's where they're at and where I'm at. And, because they're above me intellectually. If you wanna-
And on that note, Carter, we got to say goodnight to you. Find Carter's books on Amazon, everybody. Go check them on out. Hour 3 is next. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
That flew by.
That flew by. I was so into what you were saying, I lost track of time, my friend.
I did too. I thought you were going to tell me because I was looking at my clock. I was 12:59, but
Yeah, that's my fault. My bad. You can blame me on that one.
Yeah.
Brother, let's do this again soon.
Yeah, we could do the aliens, or we can. I got all kinds of other stories, and I got lots of stories, of course.
We'll do it.
All right.
All right, brother. Take
Good
care.
to see you again, man. Your
Good to
hair
see
looks
you.
lovely. I'm very envious.
You keep that goatee tight. Looking beautiful.
I learned from you.
Take care. God, I love Carter Buschardt. He's just the best. Just the best. All right, everybody. I'll be right back. Go like this. I got to resend Robin the link here because it just wasn't working. Try this one. Hopefully that one works. All right. Give me 2 seconds. All right. Let me see here. All right. Robin's just having some troubles getting in here, so just bear with me. Oh, she's in. She'll be in here in a second. There she is. We are into hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us as we get ready for Swamp Dweller and Robin Haynes get ready for a jam-packed third hour. Hey, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is Habitude. Habitude is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam says the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
Wrong one.
I'm a Native American from a reservation in Michigan. In my younger years, me and my close friend, I will call her M, decided to go back to our roots and get some snares. And in the northern Michigan winter, there is snow and cold. This was so long ago, however, I remember we wanted to utilize not only the meat for dinner, but the hide for regalia. We decided to go south into a swampy area that had cedar and pines. We were looking for pathways the rabbits used to set the snares when we noticed a clearing that seemed to have no snow. We both agreed to proceed towards what we saw. We both were getting creepy vibes as we approached the site, and when I entered the circle I saw jars with things in all around them. The freakiest thing was in the middle of this was a tree, which upon the vines grew toward the ground. Then, there in the fork of this tree was a doll, arms raised. The trees seemed to make a natural cove around this place, and I just wanted to get out of there. I had extreme butterflies and wanted to bolt. I and M didn't touch anything and proceeded home as fast as we could through the snow without shoes. After we reached my grandparents, we told my grandmother what had happened, and she called our cousin who was in the tribal police force. We told everything to him after he showed up, and he said he would take care of it. I tried to forget about it, and after he retired from the force, I decided to ask what had happened, and if he indeed saw what I and M saw. All he mentioned was he did indeed see what we had described, also that they emptied the jars and dismantled the site. I wanted to know what was in the jars, and I pushed all I could, but he would not say. I don't remember or leave it be is all he would tell me. Call me A, M is a nurse in Virginia now, and my cousin, may he rest in peace now. Here where I live, I have experienced some weird things, but to me, this was the one that set a bit of fear into me when I was young. I wonder what that doll was for, and what all those jars were.
Yeah, stay away from the dolls. Stay away from the dolls. That's just creepy. Hey, Swamp Dweller has thousands of stories for you each and every night on his channel. Make sure you go check it on out. Swamp Dweller on YouTube. Hit subscribe. Ring that bell. Time for Robin.
Robin Haynes stopped where the tall trees sway. She hears Bigfoot whisper what the wind won't say. Through the veil of the forest where the wild man plays, the Bigfoot psychic talks to Sasquatch every day. Only on Spaced Out Radio's Crypted Q&A.
All right, Robin Haynes, it's always great to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, my friend?
Good. Glad to be back. I like the new background.
Well, it's been here for a while.
It looks different. Why does it look so different?
Camera angle?
Maybe. I don't know. It looks completely different.
I have no idea. It's not different.
I know. Isn't that strange?
Very strange.
It just looked all different. So how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm overtired. You know, working 2 jobs sucks. I'm not gonna lie. Working 2 jobs sucks. But one day it'll be one.
Absolutely.
That'll be nice. That'll be nice. So we talked last week. No, last week you weren't here because you were ill and we had Christian McLeod kind of fill in for you. I want to get into with you, and I've been wanting to chat with you about this. You know, a couple weeks ago when you were last on, we talked a little bit about the Patterson-Gimlin film. This is news that just is not going away. And
it's really sad.
It is something that, you know, a lot of debate is still going on with this. And because the film hasn't been released publicly, it's created a lot of speculation. It has created a lot of drama, you know, because people got to get their 2 cents in before we actually see what's on there. You know, that makes the claim that the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film from 1967 is a hoax. But for many in the field who've been doing this a long time, yourself included, you're steadfast that this is real.
100%. No doubt in my mind, heart, or soul. For a large amount of reasons.
What are those reasons?
Well, first off, just to start out with the basics, you could not, back in 1967, create the suit of Patty. We did not have the capabilities. Hollywood didn't have those capabilities. Second, there's muscle movement beneath the hair. You are not going to get solid muscle movement in a suit, especially not in 67. They can't even get that now without doing AI. And even then, some of it does not show muscle movement. I've been next to these things when they walk. I've seen the muscles flex underneath the hair. Exactly like what happens with Patty. Back then, there was not enough sightings of them for anybody to realize that they really have no neck, that neck sets down into the chest. So they would not have had that proportion correctly, nor the arms, nor the legs, nor the breast. If they were going to create a suit, they would make it male, because then they wouldn't have to worry about the curvature of the breast. There are breasts on that. Okay. Everything about that, in the way the muscle moved, the bottom of the feet was a key thing for me. When you watch them walk, because they are obviously barefooted, they have a lot of calluses on the bottom of their feet. Their feet are very tough. There's generally a lighter coloration on the bottom of the foot than there is anywhere else. Exactly like what Patty has. You cannot duplicate all those things. You couldn't duplicate one of those things, let alone everything at one time. The other thing is Bob Gimlin himself. I don't care what anybody says. I've only talked to the man one time. He probably, and that was years ago, he probably wouldn't remember me from Adam. I found him to be excessively credible. The energy read on him was he was not deceitful in any way, shape, or form. He's a very kind, loving person. The amount of grief that this man has gone through in his lifetime, bringing out that film, nobody would willingly want to do to fake. Okay, it doesn't make sense to do it. Now, a couple other things. There are people, and I've seen them on different movies where they came out and they said, yeah, I'm the one, I created the footprints, and I did this, and I did this, and I was the one in the suit. When this came out, when Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin put this film out, in my opinion, I don't believe they ever thought for 1 second the amount of hate that was coming at them. Okay, and Roger Patterson's wife had probably no idea what was going to come at her and her family. If I were them back in 1967 and my husband went out and said, oh, look I filmed this and it's real. Everybody laughing at him, everybody treating them poorly, everybody calling them hoaxers, even when they weren't. I would do anything to get that stigma off of me, because it's going to affect your livelihood where you work. People aren't going to want to work with you. Your friends aren't going to want to be seen with you. If I were them in that frame of mind, I can very easily say it would be plausible for them to turn around and say, I faked it, this person created it, or whatever, just to get the heat off them. Rather be called a hoaxer than people think you're crazy. Because back then, nobody knew a lot about these things. I mean, years ago, you had Teddy Roosevelt saw him, Albert Osterman saw him, but there wasn't a lot of it. So I can see why somebody would come forward and say, oh yeah, I recreated it. And then they can get their 10 minutes of fame. The reality is very different. I do not believe for 1 single second that this film is hoax. I've seen the Trackway film. I've held the film, the original, in my hand. And I'm not, the can was still sealed when I saw it, so I did not see that one. But I've watched this film a million times. I've mind spoke with the Sasquatch there. Patty is deceased, but I did speak with the Sasquatch there. There is literally not 1 single ounce of me that says this is fake. Film is fake. I know to my soul that it's not. I think it's awful the way Bob's being treated. This is somebody that, in spite of the ridicule that he got, and Roger too, unfortunately, Roger isn't with us anymore. God rest his soul. But in spite of the criticism they got, the harassment that they must have had, this man has stayed steadfast with his story since it happened, regardless of how poorly he's been treated. And he is a very kind and honest man. They've questioned his integrity. They've questioned his ethics, his morals, and everything about him. And I just think it's really sad, because here this person came forward and let us know about something that at that time most people had no idea about. He brought forth this film, excuse me, that him and Roger took when he didn't have to, at a very big expense to himself and his family. Because I don't believe for 1 second that he wasn't harassed unmercifully when this happened, him or Roger. And this is the repayment he gets. He's now in the older part of his life, and he's still getting flack from this. Now, I understand this movie's coming out. I personally have not seen this movie yet. I am not saying anything ill towards the people that made it. I'm sure they have their own reason. But sensationalism sells. Controversy sells. And I have watched over the years as countless people have tried to make projects about this, claiming that it's fake, and they make money off of it. But I don't see them putting themselves on the line the way Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin did. And the Sasquatch aren't going to lie about it. They're just not. I can't hear you. I can't hear.
There we go. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I think part of the problem that people are having is that Roger Patterson was trying to make a Bigfoot documentary prior to this sighting. The Bigfoot
Yeah.
world has been around for a long time, already knows this. But the newbies who've been in this field for maybe the last 5, 8, 10 years, the majority of them don't know that. And they look at this as saying, wow, you know, Heronius or whatever his name is, was wearing the suit. If you look at the suit that he was wearing, it looks completely different than
Yep.
what we are seeing with Patty. I mean, it literally looks like a cheap monkey suit that you would buy, you know, online today from Temu. That's what it looks like. But it looks nothing like the Patty suit. So I look at it like a lot of these people who are now allegedly questioning the Patterson-Gimlin film really haven't done their research. And you know, I have always been hard on the BFRO, but I do want to thank Matt Moneymaker for bringing up that point on X, basically reminding everybody that Patterson and Gimlin trying to make a Bigfoot film in Yakima, Washington, not Bluff Creek, California, is completely different from what they filmed. And they just happened to catch it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do. The other thing, too, that I want to point out is Dr. Igor Borstov, who is very renowned. He did all kinds of tests as far as the range of motion from where Patty walked and whether or not this was a human, our type of human, or something else. There was himself, and I'm sorry, I cannot remember everybody in the team that did it, but they worked on that tirelessly. And they proved without a shadow of a doubt that the way that Patty walked was definitely not one of our humans. Of course, back then, nobody knew that they were human hybrids, but it was definitely not one of our humans. But they did a complete study that took a great amount of time. Great care went into that study to prove it. If it was a fake, which it wasn't, but if it was a fake, they would have not gotten the results that they did. The other thing about this costume, and I agree with you 100%, the costume that they're claiming they used for Patty, it just looks like a cheap suit. But I want everybody to look at the face. The face on Patty is not what your typical Sasquatch face looks like. Okay? For back then, they would have looked more, thought the Sasquatch would have looked more ape face. If you notice with Patty, it's almost like a human that has a mustache across here and a little bit of a goatee. You know what I mean? It's like from here to here is open and pure skin. That is not your typical Sasquatch face. So it only makes common sense if they were going to manufacture a suit, which there was no capabilities at all. And I think, David, it was you that said even Walt Disney was asked about it and said that they could not have made a suit of that nature back in 1967. And
That's
so you look at the face, that is not what you typically see a Sasquatch. Now, I've seen several of them like that. I have a photo of one at one of the sites that I go to that has a face just like that. No, it's not Patty. Patty's deceased. But that is not your typical Sasquatch face. They would not have known to make it that way. They would have not have made it a female. It would have been much easier to create a male suit. And if you look at any other type of shows that were done back in the late 60s, even into the 70s and into the 80s. In fact, I don't know of one show I've ever seen where they had a Sasquatch that was a costume, even the AI, that had breasts and was a female. Why? Because the male are easier to duplicate the chest. But yet there's Patty and hers are hanging out. So I just think there's too much evidence, even if you want to put aside Bob Gimlin and just look at the facts of it, look at the photo of it, see what's happening with it. And I think there's too many facts that show that it was real.
Is it going to convince people?
No. I think this has been such a divided hot topic for literally decades. I mean, not years, but decades. And I don't think it's going to change it much. I think we're still going to have the two camps that are going to battle back and forth on the story. And then you have the third camp of, was there more to that day other than just Patty walking through there? So now we've got three camps. And what I have learned in this industry is nobody is going to agree with anybody. You know, you've got your camps and that's where they stay. You can give them proven fact. You could give a blood test out of Patty and they'd say it was faked. Look what they did with the Sasquatch Genome Project. 133 samples, all proven, and they're still fighting over that. They don't let it go. This is like a dog with a bone, and it's very unfortunate because we lose a lot of information that people will have that could come forward, that could enlighten us and teach us. I mean, we're all in this together. We all want to learn. Okay, every one of us, I don't care how many experiences you have or don't have, we can learn from each other. It's like with my clients. I learn from them every session. There's always something that they have to say that teaches me something new while I'm teaching them. And we could be learning from each other, but instead we're all subdivided because there's all of these camps. You know, you have the fight between, is it a human hybrid? Is it an ape? They don't care how many samples that were tested. They don't care what was tested or the different labs tested them and all got the same thing. There's going to be a division there. There's going to be a fight over it. Is this film legit? Is this film legit? They're going to fight over that. There's always going to be something because everybody's got an opinion. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but everybody's got an opinion and none of them match up because everybody's going to know what's the truth is, even if it's right or wrong. You know, I feel extremely, extremely hard that this is a legitimate film, and I will stand by that. I've not as much evidence as I've seen of it, and I've seen a lot of it. Like I said, you know, I absolutely have seen a lot of it, more than people would realize. And I've not found one single bit of evidence that would indicate to me that it's fake.
Let's get a couple audience questions here.
Sure.
Don is asking, how are the samples proven?
Oh, from the Genome Project?
Yes.
Okay. We use several labs. Everybody said, well, Dr. Ketchum is the one that did all the tests. And that's so false. It really is false. Did she do initial testing on some of them? Yes. But because she wanted to make sure, I was part of that project. And she wanted to make sure that the samples were done correctly, not because she thought she wasn't. She knew she was, but she wanted proof that it wasn't just her saying it. We sent those samples to the top labs in the country. Okay, they were washed, they were cleaned, they were done by robotic arms. And when they were blind studies, meaning when those samples went in, they were supposed to be a species identification. They were not just sent in there. They were not told what they were. They could have come back and said they were anything, and they all came back the same. So these were sent all over the country. It was not just Dr. Ketchum that did it. She started it in the beginning. And she wanted to make sure that all the findings added up to the same. And I mean, there was such great care taken with this, but they went to the top labs in the country. And every time they came back the same. And, you know, everybody says, well, why weren't they published in an academic journal? Well, they were supposed to be. Okay. But when the government comes into those journals and shuts it down, time and time again, you're very limited. It was not that they weren't approved for it. And we do have emails within our possession to prove that. Those never came out because there was so much hate that came flying at Dr. Ketchum in the study. And so at that point, it was just like, what's the point? Nobody's listening. Which is unfortunate because there's a lot more information that would have come out that would have really brought it home for people. But there was just too much hate. And you get to the point where, how long do you keep fighting the fight?
Robin, hold on right there. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We got Robin Haynes for the rest of the show. Let's have a good one, shall we?
Absolutely.
This is Space Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Hold on, Robin. I got you on mute here. There you go.
We expect the same backlash with this next study because we're doing the cryptid genome study now. And we'll be releasing all the dogman stuff. And as soon as it's done, we're still waiting for it to get back from the labs. These were all sent out to all the various labs, but it'll be the same way, I'm sure. You can give the people the information, but you can't make them believe it.
Right. There we go. Excuse me.
I think it's just sad because people that do have experiences with these beings, a lot of them, not everybody, but a lot of them are afraid to come forward because nobody wants to believe it. Nobody wants to listen to all of it. And there's so much hatred that comes at you. And it's like, gosh, there's so many people out there with experiences that we could learn so much. People that have footage, whether it's video or photographs or whatever, they're out there. People are too frightened to come forward because just like with Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson, this has been going on since 67, you know,
Yes.
and it's okay to question. I absolutely believe it's okay to question whether things are real or not. That's good. That's healthy. You don't want to just, swallow the Kool-Aid, as they say. But when you have the amount of evidence that's been provided, and I think people are looking at it as if it was this day and age, where it's very easy due to AI to fake a lot of things, other than there are certain things on AI that, you pick up, like they don't breathe or they may not blink or whatever. But I think people are looking at it like it's an advanced film era. And they forget that when that film was done in 1967, there was no advanced film. I think it was like 8 or 16 millimeter film reel. And the reason it's clear is because that's what it was. That clarity now of one of these, unless it was at a farther distance, it might not be as blurry. But because of the frequency and the energy they radiate, it blurs it. Sometimes you get lucky and they don't. If it's one that doesn't use a lot of the abilities, their frequency isn't as high, it'll come out clear.
We got about 2 minutes here.
So I don't know when that new movie's supposed to come out. I haven't heard yet. I just know it's supposed to come out.
It hasn't had a release date or anything like that.
Yeah, and I know there's another one coming out about it because I was asked to be a part of it and I declined.
Right.
So I'm sure there's going to be more. I think, it's not a good topic for the Sasquatch. There's a few of them, that think highly of Patty and say she was kind, but for the most part, they are not happy about it. The attention that she brought on them, and they ended up more hunted than ever. So where everybody's all excited about it and our people are arguing, is it real? Is it not real? Their people just want it to go away. They got ratted out by it. That film announced to the world that they were there. Them living in the shadows was no longer an option.
We have 1 minute here. All right. Thank you tonight to Kitty Cattywhack for the lone super chat tonight. The lone one. It's a lonely one. That's okay. It's still a good one. It's a lonely one, but a good one. And shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got big feet. Yes, you do. And CaribouCon. Go to cariboucon.com. Get your tickets. Tickets now. September 18th for 20th. 5 seconds, Robin. We are into the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Robin Haynes and the Cryptid Q&A continuing right now. So let's go check it out. Robin, welcome back.
Thank you. I wanted to tell you one more thing on the Patterson-Gimlin movie.
Sure.
And the other day, I don't watch any of the Sasquatch shows, like other than Flash of Beauty. I love Flash of Beauty, but I don't watch a lot of that stuff. But I was watching a different movie and it popped up, and it was an interview with Bob Gimlin years ago. And he was doing a polygraph. I mean, some kind of a polygraph test. And just pointing out, he passed it with flying colors. So something to think about.
All right. Let's continue on here. Let's go to Nicole here. Robin, did you sense the juvenile Sasquatch that Patty is walking towards?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was more than just the juvenile that was over there. But yeah, 100%.
What did you sense?
Well, there was quite a bit of the clan that were over there, as well as children that were Patties. And, there's been a lot of rumors, oh, she was carrying a baby. I never saw evidence of that. Doesn't mean I'm right on everything, but I saw no evidence that she had a baby on her back or anywhere else. But she did have children in the woods where she was walking to. And there were other clanmates that were over there in the woods. That's why she kept walking the way she went. She was frightened. She was going back to her people. Where the Sasquatch, a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them labeled her a traitor because she walked towards them, alerting people that they were there. They felt she should have walked away. She didn't, because she was frightened and she was already walking that way. She just figured she'd go right back to her people and it would be safe for her. But the juvenile is absolutely there. There is a lot more of them there. Not the whole clan, but there were clan members there as well as children.
You said they let you see it. What did they let you see, and who is they?
When I've spent a lot of time talking to Sasquatch that were there, that claimed to have been there at the time. And this was on and off for years. Like, this isn't just recently, this is for years. And basically what I was shown was her walking towards them, and then the others were seen. MK Davis has come forward and said that he believes that some were killed that day. And as much as I would prefer that that never happened, I do believe, whether it was that day or they went back, that there were members of that clan that died. I don't believe, in my personal opinion, that Roger Patterson or Bob Gimlin had anything whatsoever to do with it, from what I was shown. I'm not even sure that they were aware of it. I have a good idea where or why it happened, but I have not been able to find anything that would make me believe that Roger Patterson or Bob Gimlin had any part of it, or maybe possibly not even any knowledge. So, but that's what I was shown. And then they told me that they made Patty leave the clan, and she was ostracized from the clan without the children because she had led them back to where the people were. But that's what they had said to me. And that was several different ones that I had mind spoke with, and different visions that they showed me.
All right, let's get to another one here. Let's go to Paramarv. One theory had a juvenile Bigfoot in the background of that Patty may have been trying to distract the humans to protect them. Any chance you've been able to confirm that? Similar question,
What?
but
Yeah, I don't know about it as far as where it was located in the background. What I know of it is she was walking toward the group, and there were some, like if you were to look past her into the tree line there, possibly, as far as her trying to distract them, what I was told, and it's possible it was to distract, but what I was told and shown was more, she didn't know what to do in the situation. Okay. She basically panicked. She wanted to go back where she felt she was safe. She felt safe with the clan. I don't think that she had any intention of trying to get anybody hurt, but I think she didn't know what to do. According to them, Patty had a history of being very attentive towards our humans. And this was not the first time that she had encountered a human. And there had been problems with her before. Now, that's just what I was told, guys. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what I was told. And so when this happened, the clan was already upset. But she headed back to them, whether it was to distract, one of the juveniles. Yeah, there were absolutely juveniles there. There was some even younger than that. And she headed right back where the adults were. And I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't believe that she was trying to distract them from anything. I think she was more like, what do I do? Where do I go? I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this. That is not a topic that they would have really been very familiar with back then. And so she went right back to where her safety net was, and that was her people. And when she did, it just backfired completely.
let's go on to another one. So I want to make sure we get them all in tonight. Paramarv follow up. Didn't Dr. Jeff Meldrum also say Patty looked real?
That I could not tell you. I have no idea. Absolutely have no idea on that.
I couldn't tell you that answer either.
Yeah.
Not that answer. All right. Let's go to
And
Don.
I would hate to misquote him. He's passed away, and God rest his soul. So I would not want to even comment on that.
Don is asking, just wondering, how are the samples proven?
The samples from the Sasquatch Genome Project?
Yes.
Those were sent to the top labs in the country. These are highly qualified labs, the best that money could buy in our United States. Again, they were done with robotic arms. Tests were run to make sure that there was no contamination. If there was contamination, it would have been by somebody on the team, somebody that had handled them. And the DNA on it didn't come back anybody that had any contact with it. It was a human DNA, but it was not from any of our people. So and they had already washed and cleaned the samples. They had robotic arms do it. And so if the theory that was put out afterwards that was incorrect was, well, it came back part human because our team had it. Okay, why was that DNA not matching our team? It had its own DNA. So yeah, it was absolutely, there was no way that it could have been anything other than what it was. And there are tests that are done to make sure that there's no contamination. And those were performed.
Follow up from Don. Robin, can you tell us what those samples tested as, or were they just unknown?
On the mother's side, it was anywhere from 3% on up human, depending on the sample. On the father's side, always came back unknown. And that is because there was nothing in any DNA database to test it against. And it was only the father's side. Every time, it was only the father's side that came back unknown. And the mother's side had human in it. It wasn't strictly human, but there was human in it. Some samples more than others, depending on the individual.
See, this is where I get confused about the creature, because if it's showing human DNA in it, Robin,
Mhm.
wouldn't that mean it would be more of a flesh and blood creature than, say, what many of us suspect, that it does have some sort of supernatural ability?
Not necessarily. To begin with, we're all high frequency beings. We all have abilities. When we live our lives in the third dimension, we don't access it because our frequency is not high enough. When your frequency is high enough, you can access abilities. All of us, I work with people every single day with abilities. I have abilities. These are not any different. These are multi-dimensional beings that can go from flesh and blood to multi-dimensional. Our world is now finding out that our people can go into a higher frequency and go in through these dimensions as well. And more of that will come out as time goes by. We've been pigeonholed because we've been led to believe that all we were three-dimensional beings. The Sasquatch and other cryptids, they haven't been pigeonholed. They don't deal with our government. We do. We've been told from the time we came out that this is all we are. You're flesh and blood. Biggest lie out there. That is not true. That's why I started working with people. Are we cloaking? No. We don't get high enough frequency for that. The government has created things to make them cloak, or make us cloak, but we don't have that ability. But we do have abilities. We have empath abilities, intuitive abilities, psychic abilities, premonitions. We can move energy. We have telekinesis, telepathy. All those are abilities. You get those in a higher frequency, just like they do. Theirs is much higher than ours, absolutely. And there are times that they are third dimension. And for the ones in that clan, if the leader decides that they don't want the clan using abilities and drawing attention to themselves, other than the mind speak, and they stay in that third dimension, they can get hurt just as easily as we can. But most of them choose to be exactly what they are, which is a higher frequency being, which is what we're supposed to be. Our bodies are a three-dimensional anchor. You know, you hear talk that people say that aliens say we're a prison planet. We're not a prison planet. Look around you. There's beautiful things everywhere. This is not a prison. The prison is our third dimensional bodies. We hold ourselves within the prison because we stay in the third dimension. When you raise your frequency and your energy, you are now in the fourth and fifth dimension, and you can go higher than that. It's not any different with them. They just knew the secret before we did because they didn't have anybody keeping them held down in the third dimension.
Good answer.
Thank you. Yeah, the truth usually is.
Let's go to Erica. I'm sure you've already answered this, but what are the results?
That's all right.
Will we get the results?
On the Sasquatch, they are human hybrids. Our dogman testing is not back yet. It takes a while to get these tests done, guys. We are getting genomes pulled. Everybody is hard at work. They're already out to the labs. As soon as they get back, it will be made public. But as far as the Sasquatch, they are a human hybrid. On the mother's side, they are part human. On the father's side, it is unknown because there was nothing that we could match that. Not we, because I'm not a scientist. That's above my pay grade. But there was nothing on the father's side that was in the DNA databases. Now, the government DNA databases, I'm quite certain that they have. And I'm sure there's a lot of matches if I'm right on what that site is. But as far as for the scientists to have access to, there was nothing in it for the father's side, only the mother's.
Would it be healthy for the Sasquatch population if some sort of disclosure on Sasquatch came out?
I want to say yes, but I don't know, honestly, because, and I'm so sorry to say this because we have so many beautiful, beautiful, wonderful people on our planet, but we also have some of the worst. People will never let them live their lives. Everybody is hunting them down, wanting to know, but then you give them the answers and they turn on each other and they fight. Death threats, as anybody that was part of our team for the Sasquatch Genome Project are very well aware of. Death attempts. If they come out, are people going to leave them alone? Probably not. they've tried, I will be honest with you, the Sasquatch try every so many years. Okay. It's like I went silent for a long time. You couldn't find me anywhere. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't talk about them. I came out in public because they wanted me to. And when they're ready for me to quit talking about them, then I stop. I only go on shows that they approve of because it's their information, not mine. But I want to say that it would help them, but people have to realize you can't make protection laws for them because their culture is different. It's like, how would we make in the United States protection laws for people in China or Ethiopia or anywhere? Because their world and their culture is different. I did have at one point in time, somebody asked me if I would please go to the White House and file this petition to put all these laws in place to protect them. And I said, send me the documents that you would want me to do that with, and I will. I got the documents and I read it, and it broke my heart to call these people and say, I can't do this. It won't help them. They are not going to abide by our laws because their culture is different. They have their own laws. They don't understand taxes. They don't understand minimum wage or property lines. They understand territory. They understand what goes on in their world. It's a different culture. So our laws have no bearing on them because they don't even understand it. The only way to protect them is let them live their lives. Let them have their land. It was theirs before it was ever ours to begin with. Let them live. Let them do their thing. Quit chasing them around. If you want to interact with them, go out, have a bonfire, let them come to you. Quit chasing them because that's what causes the problems. And they're not all nice, but they're not all bad either. There's much more good ones than there are bad ones. But we are on this planet together. Let's share it. If we want them to be respectful of us, then we absolutely have to be respectful of them. I've lived around these things my whole life. I've never had a problem. Have I dealt with bad ones? Yeah, in other areas. I've had to help stop some of the bad ones in other areas. But as far as living wherever I've lived, they've been all over my property, everywhere I've ever lived at. I've never had these problems. They respect me. I respect them. It's pretty simple. You know, them getting proven, they've already been proven and nobody's going to believe it. Everybody wants to be the one to discover it. How about we quit trying to outdo each other and just accept that they're there and live peacefully? We need to learn some of their culture so that we can understand where they're coming from. They know part of our culture because they watch us. They call us the silly, hairless humans. But it's this back and forth, pulling back and forth. There's no way to protect them other than to let them have their space, let them live their lives, which is exactly what we're trying to do. You know, yeah, there are bad ones. I admit that. Absolutely. The bad ones are awful. But there's more good than bad, just like in our people. We're the ones running out in the woods and harassing them. We don't get a lot of them that are harassing us. Some, yes, but not the majority. You know, it's got to be a mutual respect thing. And there's no laws that are going to work. They don't understand our laws at all. Our words don't mean the same to them.
We got 3 minutes to go before we have to say goodnight to you. Robin Haynes is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I look at this, and you know how much I love and adore this subject. You know, why do we not see more viciousness from this creature? We see a lot of docile ones, but you hear all of these nightmarish stories from New Orleans or Texas or Florida in the bayou areas that they're very violent. Why do we not hear as many of them recently?
Normally the bad ones will go as far away from us as possible, whether it's up on a mountain, deep in the bush, whatever, because they don't want to be around us. They don't like us. They don't like us because we're rotten to them. So most of the bad ones simply get out of the way. And, you know, there are parts in Texas that, and in every state, not just Texas, that they do have some aggressive ones. But I will tell you this, I've been out in the woods with them in Texas. I've had them walk right up to me and be 1.5 to 2 foot in front of me. I don't have any problems with them. But I am careful about what areas I go in. But that is normal in every single state. but you have a lot of kill groups in Texas, and they are absolutely very well aware of people that go out with a pure intent, or whether there's kill groups or whatever. These are hunted. They are hunted. How would you feel as a human being if you were hunted? You know, there was that book about how they hunted people on the island. That's how these poor things have to live their life every day. I'm in South Carolina, you know, I'm still building in Texas. It's not done yet, but we had some that were right up the road from me, and I was pulling out of my driveway, and I got mind speak going, hurry, come, they've got guns. And I go down there, and we have this little creek, and there were guys out there with three men with guns shooting at them, and there was one at the back of the creek there, opens up into swampland, and they're back there doing whoop calls and shooting at them. I mean, shooting for what? They were at the back of the swamp. They weren't bothering anybody. They weren't even close to them. And they're out there just shooting away and doing whoop calls. If you're down there and you're doing whoop calls, you know darn well what you're going after. We harass them more than they harass us. And that's why the bad ones don't like us. We've got a bad rep. You know, and I'm not saying that there aren't any that are just bad, because like us, there are. But most of the bad ones try to just stay away from us. They don't like us, so they go up in the mountains. They go deep into the woods, as far away from us as they possibly can. You know, it's why when people are going up in the mountains and all of a sudden they're getting boulders thrown at them. Well, you went up in the mountains looking for them. They didn't come down off that mountain after you.
That is true. Robin, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook under Robin Haynes, Haynes, no middle initial. Or if you want services, you can get hold of me on my website at www.paranormal-empowerment.com.
You are
For
the
right
best.
here.
You are the best. And
Love ya.
love it when you are here. So thank you very, very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
This week, we will talk to you next week, of course, as we get ready to say goodnight to Robin. And hello, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. One sec here, Robin. Yeah, no. All right. Robin, stick around here for just a couple seconds.
Yep.
If you don't mind. Where do I go? I gotta press that button. I'm so tired.
You look so exhausted, my friend.
I have never been this exhausted in my life. Why did my camera go?
We had two major energy things come through, and that was one of the problems with them. Is everybody It's like I sleep, I wake up, I do a session with somebody, I go back to sleep, I wake up, I do a session, and then I go back to sleep. It's awful.
Funny. My screen went dark and I don't have any darkness in my room right now. Like the light is all still the same here.
Oh, wow.
Don't know why my camera all of a sudden went dark on me. That was weird. Oh, well. To the rest of you, tomorrow night on the show, Robert Maxwell is going to be here to share some Bigfoot stories. It's a Bigfoot week this week. Total Bigfoot week. So enjoy it. Thank you to Kitty Caddywhack for our lone super chat. Don't forget after the show that you have to give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. I want to know what you think of the Patterson-Gimlin film. What do you think of stories? What would you do if you had a close encounter? Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.